and I want to welcome you to the second session of tonight on our Why Creativity Matters Now event, our conversation. And tonight's session is all about performance and creating community in Key Stage 1 and the early years. So to get us going, can you please introduce yourself in the chat to let us know who you are, which organisation you are representing and what's your role. I'm Amy Willoughby. I work as assistant head at Beck alongside Jenny and Becky, who are on here too. And I also work freelance as a creative education producer for Create Sheffield. So we've all worked together to set these events up to bring creativity and arts and heritage into children's education, how we're going to move forwards with that. Thank you. I can see everyone introducing themselves. It's brilliant. We're going to now, I'm going to hand over to Jenny and she's going to just talk to us for a minute about who Create Sheffield are and what they do. Thanks, Jen.
Hi everyone, hope you're all okay. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm just going to whiz through and tell you a little bit about Create Sheffield because you might not have heard of them before. If you have, you might find there's something you didn't know. So Create Sheffield are Sheffield's cultural education partnership. They were set up by the Arts Council, funded through them, and they're a charitable organisation. And what they're trying to do is make sure that arts and creativity and cultural experiences are part of all children and young people's lives in Sheffield. And so they do that by working in partnership between arts partners, cultural partners, and the education providers here in Sheffield. So we work with children right from 0 to 24. The focus of this session today is on the early years, but we work with organisations which work with children right through that age range. And Create Sheffield works as sort of a bit like a dating agency. So we don't, what we do is we try and pair people up with somebody that's going to help those children develop creative opportunities. So we've got 4 main priorities: organising and allowing opportunities like this for people to network and come together. We promote and vocalise for the arts and creativity. We try to find out what it is that people want. So by finding out what we can do to support them and how we can make things better. And we look to see how we can invest in opportunities to develop creativity within Sheffield.
Thank you.
So this is our website, which if you've not seen it before, you can get to really easily by just putting Create Sheffield into Google. On here, you can find under the partners menu, a whole list of different partners that you could work with, arts and cultural partners. I think there's 50 something of them, and they've all been used to working with children and young people. You can filter them by the different kinds of arts and creativity that they're involved in, and by different age ranges and some other filters as well. There's a menu there which says Adventures, which is as exciting as it sounds, and it's all about opportunities to do different activities which are linked particularly to helping children to understand about their place in Sheffield. So there's all kinds of different place-based activities in there which are really open-ended and can be used with different age ranges. The events page will take you to any of the recordings from the events that we've been having on, as well as help you to book on. That's where you can book onto any other events. And our stories, that's where it's basically our blog. So there's lots of details there about creative projects that people have been involved in the past. And finally, the menu for Why Creativity Matters Now relates to, that's where you'll probably have found out about this event. And that's these 3 weeks, we've planned a range of conversations and opportunities for arts partners and schools and educators to come together to talk about how we can make sure that creativity has got a place in this next bit of whatever's been going on. It's obviously been a really difficult time for all of us over the last 18 months. And during that time, though, creativity has been a big part of what we've been trying to do. I think a lot of us have found that creative and arts activities have really supported children in their making sense of what's been going on, and have supported them to really engage with their learning when they've come back into school. And what we're trying to say with this event is, let's see if we can make sure that creativity is a big part of going forward and the recovery that goes on over the next period of time, and has a place in whatever catch-up means.
Thanks, Jenny. So, like we said, this is Why Creativity Matters Now. We're in week 2, and all of the events this week, there was 2 last night, there were 2 tonight, this is the second, and 2 on Thursday, a case study showcase some of the fantastic practice that has happened in Sheffield to inspire you, think of ideas, and provide a forum for you to share what you've done as well. So tonight we want this to be a conversation. We want to hear lots from you as well. So please put any questions and thoughts in the chat box as they come to you. We are watching that. And at the end of the session, we would like you to write in the chat what you will take away from our conversation today. So what's really stuck with you. And there'll be time at the end to share as well. So we have got 3 case studies tonight, very exciting, very jam-packed agenda. We're going to start in a moment with Ives from Concerteenies with Becky Stroud. Then we're going to have Jane Cooper, who is an artist in residence at Arbourthorne Primary School with head teacher Vanessa Langley. And then finally, we've got Julie Brearley and Eleanor Churchwood from 50 Things. So I'm going to hand over to, stop sharing, Polly and Becky to start us off, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really nice to see so many people tonight. I'm going to share the thing that we've done. Sam shared. There we go. Where have we gone? Oh, it is from the beginning, isn't it? There we go. So, hello everyone. Polly's to my left, probably your right. Is that right? No, on the left, we don't know anymore. We feel like a double act tonight. We've come to present on our project that we're running, which is a youth music funding project. It's called Chatterbox Music Project. And we're going to try and answer the question, how can engaging in performances and events build community? And we're going to focus on EYFS creativity. EYFS, of course, being early years foundation stage. So
I'm director of Concerteenies, set that up myself a couple of years ago, and in this project I am working as the co-creator and arts partner, and Becky.
I'm Becky Stroud. I'm arts lead at Beck Primary School. I teach a lot of the music curriculum at Beck Primary School. I'm also I do freelance work as well, and so we're both the co-creators of this project. We got together in lockdown and went, what can we do? And that's how it started. But my role here is project manager, and Polly's role in this project is definitely the arts partner. So I've just put on the screen there a kind of the flow, the collaboration that is going on and will be going on. So youth music, the funding bid went in and we got about £30,000 from them. We did a bit of match funding from the schools. It was about £2,000, 500 from each of the 4 schools of Cascade Multi-Academy Trust. Concerteenies obviously is our arts partner who will be delivering in the schools, and the project that we came up with was called Chatterbox Music Project. Ultimately, down the line, further down our journey of this project, we'll share it as we are tonight with Create Sheffield, and we'll share it with Sheffield Music Hub as well, because whatever resources do we get out of this will hopefully go on to other schools. So it's not, hopefully doesn't stop within our 4 schools and becomes boxed in our 4 schools. Hopefully it will go out across the city as well. That's certainly the aims anyway. So the youth music funding comes with a few parameters on it. When you write a youth music funding bid, there's certain criteria that you have to fit through. It's money for social change rather than money for art's sake. So our project aims are, we're co-creating music activities. So Polly's co-creating them with the staff at the schools, with the children at the schools. We're reflecting and celebrating the cultural diversity found within the 4 schools. They're very different, but they do share high PP, high pupil premium, and some of them have a high percentage of BAME students as well. I'd like to say at this point, we've got representatives from both Beck and Hucklow on this chat tonight, on this Zoom tonight. They've very kindly come to join us, and hopefully they'll have some input as well. So the focus is on social and communication skills. That's because when I spoke to F2 originally, they said, oh, we really need something to build these. So I went and we tried to build a project around social and communication skills. Staff wanted CPD, and we want to try and develop our parental engagement as well. So part of the project will be about that. And hopefully curatorship of resources made for future use across our city. So this is a rough outline of the project delivery. It's 18 months. We're doing a plan, do, review in 2 schools, and then we'll do a plan, do, review in 2 more schools, and then we disseminate and celebrate it. We've done the initial twilight training in 2 of the schools with the YFS staff, and we've got the money out and we've bought the resources in 2 of the schools, and now Polly's working her way through 20 visits in each of the first 2 schools, and she's also bringing 6 live musicians in during those times to each of the schools. So I think you're working with 6, 12, 18, 24 times musicians come into schools. And we're also doing quite a lot of reviewing. So we have a system whereby when Polly's been in, the staff add to a journal, and that reflection time builds a journal over time for us. So our journey is recorded through each of the schools. There we go. The benefits of immediate benefits for our school has been portable music resources to use around the school. These little suitcases are packed with the resources Polly wanted for the project, and off she goes trundling around school with them. And actually the suitcases have been one of the best buys, haven't they, in terms of portability? Here we go. I'm going to pass over to Polly because this is her part of it now. So over to you, Paul.
Yeah, so we've kind of divided this programme of activities very much to that all the EYFS staff can deliver music activities themselves. So I'm not a kind of trained musician, or everything I'm doing is possible for all the staff to do and to continue between the week sessions and in the future. So it's very much about building the musical building blocks, and for the children to be equipped with the language and the confidence and the skills to develop their own ideas. Very much a focus on the children listening, learning to listen to others, but to be listened to as well. I am hugely lucky to come in as a musician, and I come in and I play with them. I don't have to be woohoo Ofsteded or any kind of criteria other than to achieve this project's objectives. So I just come and play on a mutual level with the children. We do lots of musical conversations, lots of starting, stopping, eye contact, imitation, and developing their musical activities. We've got a little example here with this amazing little boy. This was very early on, so it's kind of early stage of the programme.
Play really loud. Play really quietly. And really, really fast. And now let's play some more. Big fast. Big fast. Well done. Can we give everybody a big clap?
Oops, sorry, can we move that on? For many of these children, the kind of chance to play and listen and perform in front of others is really vital, and a lot of these children have backstories behind why this kind of project is so important. A lot of the music making that I'm doing at the moment is non-verbal, so we're very much about communicating through sound and through expression and confidence, so using sounds, macton actions, and really celebrating everyone's abilities. It's not a kind of, this project will make you talk, it's finding our way through it. We've got lots of tailored songs that we do, and we don't have time for that now, so I'll whiz on to the next bit. I base every session on a children's book, so we use images and cross-curricular storytelling, puppets, props, and encouraging the children to create their own lyrics as well, which all fit into all areas of learning, so maths, literacy, the world around us, all kinds of things. It's very much about positive emotions and behaviour, turn taking, sharing and listening, and about musical play. One of the things the children have really benefited from is being with others and playing together and creating. We talk about how we use our voices, hands over your ears, how instruments make sounds. I've bought this amazing wah wah bar, which is very much about how your mouth works, how vibrations work, which is really magical with the children. Especially with some of the non-verbal children or children with elective mutism as well. Very useful tool. We're using our voices expressively, lots of songs exploring phonic sounds as well. And also about instruments, how vibrations work and sounds make. Oops, I'm sorry. We're also using the environments and the everyday objects as sound makers and being creative. It's a whole learning environment can be musical. Over to you, Becky.
So really, we just wanted to put a couple of slides in what we're doing from a MAT perspective, and what we're trying to do is create a community across our MAT, which is a creative project in all 4 schools, which is the same project. The staff knowledge gap across the 4 schools, hopefully we'll have a shared community of knowledge with music. The pupils, we know that social communication skills are very low in EYFS, so we've all got that going on in all 4 of the schools, and so the project is aimed at that for everybody. Cultural, we've got many different backgrounds of children, so we want to start incorporating that in it. And although COVID has stopped us, we want to engage with the communities, the parent community as well. So it'd be good to start doing that fairly soon as well. I think that's after Christmas. We're hoping to start that part, aren't we? And for us, it's creativity. It's part of our art smart school at Beck. So working with an arts partner is a really good thing to do for the creativity in school. And we can feed it back, obviously, to our community, to our arts community. So that's my MAT's perspective.
From Concerteenies, it's really important that we expand our reach and engage more families and children across the city, sharing our resources that we created during lockdown. And for me as well, it's been brilliant to work within a school. I've been at Beck School all day today doing performances with a musician. So for me, I'm really honing in on delivering this music for speech and language development. We're expanding this new mini musical story and a musical stories project that was funded last year and will happen across the city. And about Concerteenies, I believe in building a community of professional musicians with music leaders and teachers, that we have this city full of musicians. We need to keep on expanding their confidence at working together. Challenges for the project.
So biggest problems is in schools was COVID delayed our project because we were supposed to start on the 5th of January and we shut down. Parent group and time frame has changed. And it's getting staff to slowly take over ownership of it. Staff have been very scared at the beginning, but that's why we're here to do it. It shows that there's a need here. So I'll just leave that one for everyone to read. This is one of our one of our F2 teachers put this, and I hope people can see that at the end of it. That's what we want to say for our presentation. Amy, are we finished?
Yes, that's great. I was like giving you a 1 minute prompt there. That's fantastic.
I got it on my phone. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, I want to hand straight over. Thank you for that, Becky and Polly, to Jane and Vanessa, please. Thank you. Any questions or thoughts, please put them in the chat because there'll be some time after to answer questions. Thank you, everyone.
Have you got our slides there, or would you like us to share our screen?
I've muted. I've got them open so I can share, or you're more than welcome to share.
You can share, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That'll just help us.
Of course.
Just while we're waiting for the slides to come up, I'm Vanessa Langley, head teacher of Arbourthorne Primary School, have been for 14 years.
And I'm Jane Cooper. I'm a visual artist and I've been artist in residence at Arbourthorne Primary School also for 14 years.
So I brought Jane with me from my last school. Yeah. We're just going to talk to you tonight. If we just move on to that next slide, just to give you a little bit of context about our school for those of you that don't know it. It's a joyous community, absolutely brilliant. The challenges are stacked against it. So what we choose to do, we do because it's right for our children, not because it's right for Ofsted. We do it, Ofsted happen to like it, but we do it because it's what meets the needs of our children. So 69% of children are entitled to pupil premium funding. It's about 67% free school meals. 41% send, some year groups with really high levels of children with special educational needs. When the children come into school, we have no child entering the school on the British Picture Vocabulary scale above the 50th centile. The 50th is where you'd expect children to come in. So we have no child above that, and a significant number falling in the lowest 20%. So that's the context, that's our starting point. In terms of the index for deprivation, there are 32,844 wards across the country, and we fall in the 661st most deprived in Arbourthorne. Again, just contextually showing you where we're coming from here. And in terms of the crime domain, 439th out of that number of wards in terms of highest levels of crime. But we're more than the data, and our narrative is really important to us, and we have to prove that a lot. So I'll just talk you through, if we just go on to the next slide, I'll just do a little bit about why we do what we do. So really, our decision to, or my decision with the governors to employ Jane was because of the power of what we'd done through creative partnerships previously working in another school together. The work that I'd seen Jane engage in terms of developing children's speech and language from really low levels was incredibly powerful, but also the connection with community, which hadn't initially been the catalyst of that project, became a really powerful part of what was happening. So we decided, Jane and I, that because I needed to develop literacy through the arts at Arbourthorne, that we'd take a community slant on this and find a way of engaging parents in a literacy rich but arts-based curriculum. So that was basically where we started from, and we wanted to bring some joy. We wanted to make sure that children left here having experienced a really strong art curriculum, and it's developed into an arts curriculum, a broader arts curriculum, but that they had something to build on all the expertise that they come with when they come into the early years. So the data that we measure and that we have to share with Ofsted is only one part of what we capture with our children. So in terms of levels of curiosity, bounce back ability of children, resilience, and competence, we wanted to build from those strengths rather than see that the data was a deficit. There were other aspects of our children that we felt we could grow and build on. So the arts became a focus for that, and putting parental engagement absolutely at the heart. This school already had really good parental partnerships. Arbourthorne over the years had developed some really brilliant partnerships. But we wanted to expand those even further and have parents in working alongside their children. And it was also a time when we introduced our core values. So looking at the ways in which parents were interacting with their children, how respectfully that engagement was, how respectful that engagement was or wasn't, and how to have families who were particularly good at that, being good role models for others alongside Jane as an artist. So that really was our starting point. And it's given us an opportunity to build in research and find out on the run, really. So we didn't necessarily have all the answers to start with, but what we've done as the years have progressed is continually reflect on the needs of the community and the children that we serve, external pressures that we might have, and then refine and improve what we're doing with Jane. And develop a really good progression of skills. And then in terms of transferability, colleagues have seen the possibilities of working with Jane in the classroom, Jane in her art space, Jane working on her own work. And that in turn has had a domino effect, really, I think, in the way that colleagues have tackled curriculum all the way through from early years all the way through to I6, because I can't not mention that. So they've seen the possibilities really of working with Jane and built on that. So now a bit more about what we do.
So visual arts, how and why we use them. So intuitively, they seem right for children. The exploration of materials in the fullest sense of exploration, not just what the materials look like as we build or move the charcoal, but the engagement of the body as we're manipulating materials, the sound they make, the smell they make, how they feel on our fingers, how they make us feel emotionally. So there's a whole realm of engagement as well as just the visual outcome. And by engaging sensory in those elements, it's a very rich opportunity to develop and expand language. So I use the process of demonstrations and skill giving as a way to really embed and develop language and model talking and encourage conversation with the children, and through reiteration and revisiting skills, embedding the vocabulary and hopefully seeing it emerge again in different contexts down the line. So materials and exploration of intelligent materials. So I think by intelligent materials, I always think not googly eyes, because an intelligent material is something that has the potential to be transformed into something which it isn't. Whereas I don't think I've ever seen a googly eye used for anything other than a googly eye. But I don't know, I may be surprised one day. But so positive modelling of language and the interrelationship of talking and communication. We use the visual arts to make links to literacy and classroom learning, enhancing the topic and enabling more children to access the curriculum. So I would say that through the acquisition of visual art skills, we embed, enhance and extend language, and skills are developed to the point where they become familiar and then the children can run with them themselves. Next slide, please. So family art has always run through Arbourthorne. It's been the thread of what we do. Like Vanessa said, when I came here, there was already a group of mums that got together. So I worked with them initially. We did a sewing project, I think, and it was a really good way to introduce myself to the school and get those relationships going before I started working with the children and their families. But quite soon after that, we developed family art. We developed a protocol which was in line with the core values which Vanessa was developing in the school at the time. So it was really, again, about modelling how to speak to children. And the thing that I encountered most of all was parents struggling not to take over and worrying. So for example, if I'd said, well, you can paint the tree pink, and then the child painted it orange, they'd say, well, Jane said paint it pink, and they'd get really anxious about it. So being respectful to the adults and still nurturing them, but then trying to find a way that they can maybe think more broadly beyond the pink tree or the orange tree without them getting worried about their child doing it wrong is always a real challenge. But I think it's something that you just have to chip away at, and I feel that over the years we've managed to do that. Would you say totally about some of our families who've come through from the very earliest? Yeah, we've got many children.
We've got families who've got large numbers of children really coming through the school, and some of those have only just finished with us. So over that period of time, each of their children have been engaged in activities with Jane, and they still talk, the children, in terms of a legacy of this, they still talk really fondly about their experiences with Jane. Some of those children have now gone on to engage in future careers around the arts, and 2 photographers out of that group, which came from some of those early experiences. So that exposure to something that they might not have experienced, working alongside a professional, which has then led to them choosing career pathways really. In the arts.
Next slide, please.
There's about 1 to 2 minutes left.
Okay, so during lockdown, we developed family art at home. Our families were delivered a craft kit. As you can see, they made some great things. We did a live WhatsApp group, so they were still meeting together once a week. The friends were still able to exchange. They could help each other with hints and tips, how to problem solve. And it was a real lifeline for some parents over lockdown who were struggling to get the children to engage in the other home learning. Next slide, please. And then we developed another strand to family art, which focused primarily on early years and getting parents engaged with their child's learning as they were in foundation. So we developed My Little Book of Chatter. Every family has their own chatter book, and it's a place to record and place their artwork and lots of photographs, anecdotes, and capture the language and the talk, the quality talk that they encountered during those sessions.
That's where we see the impact. So in terms of, if you need accountability, you need something that you've got to tick to say, yes, that job was done. It's around language development, using the SCAR tracker and making sure that we've identified where children have made progress in terms of their language development. Next slide, please. So documentation is a big part of what I do here. We're inspired by the Reggio ethos to use documentation as a tool to promote further learning and independence with that. So we've got tons and tons of these big books, which are like an ongoing archive, as well as, again, capturing the language as a tool for reflection and moving forward. Next slide, please. The value of not knowing. I always think artists are generally really comfortable when they just don't know what's going on. And I think just to have somebody in a school environment, because of all the pressures that teachers are under, to have that sort of constant example of how it's okay to not know, and it's okay to have unknown outcomes. I think that permeating the culture is a key asset to having an artist as part of the school culture. Next. Oh, so we've been doing music and combining visual art with music, developing graphic scores, making recordings, writing lyrics. So really just for me personally, for professional development for myself, seeing how exploring other things that I can develop it as part of the practice here at Arbourthorne, collaborating with the other artists. And for the future, I know there's not much time, so perhaps people can look at these slides at another point, but like the previous school, looking at the arts mark and this being part of that whole process, we're also developing as a maker school with the University of Sheffield. So we are hoping to be we're piloting a project with them. We got a Garfield Western bid. We were successful with that, quite a large amount of money with the university, and so they're upskilling all our staff to learn how to tinker with children, high and low tech solutions to problem solving, really, and finding looking at future careers, capitalising on what we learned through lockdown and our increased access to technology between home and school. So that's going at the moment. And I know Carla Rinaldi in Reggio in Italy, and so I went to visit her, and I've had a couple of visits back and forward, and we're looking at how we can compare and contrast community engagement between the UK and Reggio at the moment. So that's a really exciting project that we're really lucky to be involved in.
That's us, I think. And there's some nice pictures. Some foundation children artists.
Well, thank you so much. Lovely to see that and see all the fantastic work that's been happening at Arbourthorne. So we are going to move on in a second to Julie and Eleanor for the final case study. I am going to push this session to 5:30. If you're, let's get my words out, Amy, use your words. So that if you want to stay, so we don't have to stop the discussion, we'll carry that on a little bit after, so we don't have to rush. If you do have to get off at 5:15, that's also fine. Right, Julie and Eleanor, I'm going to hand over. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, my name's Ellie Churchward, and I'm the service manager at Sheffield City Council for Family, Adult and Community Education. So just as by way of an introduction before Julie comes in, we run the adult education service. Our target audience really is adults aged 19 plus, but a big part of our service is the family learning education. So we feel that that's absolutely right for the development of that whole family of, you know, changing the environment so that all young people thrive and it also encourages adults to engage in education themselves. It provides adults with that outlet to be able to feel that they can support the children appropriately, as well as begin to look inwardly at their own needs. And many of them then go on to achieve great things that they never thought they could, and breaking that cycle from when they were a child. We do work with young parents as well, so we are able to do that. And one of the reasons why we deliver the 50 Things app is just over a year ago when this started, we felt that it was really important to bring this to Sheffield. It is in other areas of the country, and we were really keen to get this sort of active in Sheffield and give Sheffield parents the opportunity to engage in it. So I'm going to swiftly hand over to Julie. She'll introduce everything to do with the operational delivery. She's my family learning manager. So I'll swiftly hand over to you, Julie.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Okay, so I was asked if I could come along and tell you a bit about 50 things to do before you're 5. I'll go back to the first slide. I don't know whether it's something that people have heard of before. It's like Ellie says, it's something that's around the country at the moment. I'll tell you a bit about it in a few minutes, but it's an app that you can download for free. It can be downloaded by anybody for free, and we in Sheffield, Family Learning in Sheffield, are looking after it at the moment for the council. Okay. So as I said, it's a free app. It's something, if you want to have a look at it, you can get it up on your phone. I don't know whether if people can see me. I'm holding up, I've got the app open on my phone, and this is the kind of thing that you would see. So it was developed by St Edmund's Nursery in Bradford, and they were responding to poor literacy and language skills, and they worked with education experts and early years practitioners to develop this idea, and then they rolled it out nationally, and that's why it's gone all over the country. Okay, so what's really good about it is it supports families and children to develop positive health and wellbeing habits in early years that will last a lifetime, helping prepare children for their future learning. There's public health benefits there, there's engaging the parents and the whole family approaches to health and wellbeing, and it's very inclusive, it's diverse, it's low or no cost activities, and it can bring communities together. So this is the app. When you first open it up, you'll see all the different regions who are using the app, and you select Sheffield. It asks you for the first part of your postcode, and then you get access to these 50 things. So there are literally 50 different activities. Things on there that you can see are things like treasure time, rhyme time, sharing books, making music, things that we've already heard about today. It's also an opportunity to do activities with children, and then gather photographs and create memories. When you get into each of the activities, you're given a list of options, and you're given guidance as to how you do the activity, what kinds of resources you're going to need, where you could do it, so what are the opportunities for you to do it, keywords is the language that you could use, parents can use with the children, any top tips, links with stories. And when we've use this, we have linked up with the little library van and introduced stories to our activities. Resources that you can access, any other activities that to give you an idea of what else you could do for that particular activity, and then guidance on special educational needs as well. So what we did in Sheffield, we actually launched during the lockdown, and it went out on social media, so it was very quiet for a while because we couldn't get out and actually do anything. But when we were allowed to start going back face to face, we did some 50 Things Sheffield road shows in 5 parks around Sheffield through June and July. We chose 5 of the 50 Things themes. So we did natural art in Firth Park, we did making music at Weston Park, Be Active in Norfolk Park, My Secret Treasure Boxes at Hillsborough Park, and Be a Mini Artist at Graves Park. And throughout all the 5 parks, over the 5 days that we were in the parks, we engaged with 72 families. The families initially were they were very grateful for, it was like the first opportunity that they could do something that was face to face with people, for families to see other families, and also we were engaging with people who'd had children during lockdown and didn't know where to go for help and support as well. So it opened up all sorts of other opportunities to help parents across Sheffield. As I said, we also engaged with the little library van, and we do try to promote the books as well, that the idea of books that go with each of the activities. We're currently working with family centres, and we're going into family centres or into other settings. We've been in Healy City Farm this afternoon, doing some 50 Things road shows, just to try and get the message out to parents across Sheffield. And we're also doing some 50 Things courses in schools at the moment as well, and planning those for the future. Okay, so ways in which you could get involved in doing 50 Things is by promoting the 50 Things app with your families, to encourage them, parents to engage with their children. You could even use 50 Things app as a resource in your setting. So there's loads of ideas on there that you could use with children in your early years setting. You could even ask us to come and do a 50 Things roadshow in your setting as well. One thing that we go to monthly meetings, and they very much want us to try and make it a local app. So if we have photos of Sheffield doing the activities, we can change the photos that appear on the app. So when you look at it, the Sheffield one has a picture of Supertram on there, because we're trying to make it more like Sheffield. And if you've got any other ideas, they're always asking us, are there any things that aren't on there that should be on there as an activity? So we'd love to hear your ideas and pass those on as well, of how you could use the app. I just put some useful links in there as well. I can share this with Amy Willoughby and send it out. It's got links to we have a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and there's also the Sheffield 50 Things Sheffield website, and as well as our Faces social media. Or you can just contact Ellie or myself. But that's really everything that I've got to share. I don't know whether you want to add anything, Ellie?
Yeah, I suppose for me, really, it's sort of just going to that main overview of 50 things. We're only the caretakers of this app. We thought it was a good investment, not just for our service, but for Sheffield as a whole. It helps us to embed the strategy for a great start in life for every child that's born, every child under 5. It gives them exciting life experiences. And for many of the families that we generally work with around our adult learning, we do try to target the more vulnerable families or families that may not have access to some of these exciting life experiences on an everyday basis. It helps people understand about their environment around Sheffield, but also around their very local areas. It has an impact on attainment. You know, when Bradford launched this, it was based on research around early years. And it helps schools to fulfil their commitment to home learning and gives parents a focus to be able to support that home learning environment. And really what we want to do is we want to share it with as many people as possible, as many schools to be involved with it as possible, so that it gets out to all the families in Sheffield. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much to all 3 of our case studies tonight. And I think what has been clear to me is the contrast there. We've had some music, we've had some visual art and an artist in residence, and we've had an app that all families can use. And now I know it is 5:18 p.m, so if you need to go, that is absolutely fine. But I'm going to open up the floor, so if anyone's got any questions, anything they would like to share, please do. And I would ask, before you do go, if you need to rush off, could you please pop into the chat box what you're going to take away from tonight? So what's really stuck with you, whether it's a future action or just a thought. We would love to hear that. And does anyone have any questions for any of our case studies tonight or anything to share? There's been loads of action in the chat, so thank you. I'm going to be quiet now and let you guys share. No, we're all okay so far. Go on, Sophie.
I've got a question for Vanessa. Vanessa, how come you can afford to have a teacher in your school? Why isn't that standard?
I've got a huge overdraft.
No, that's not the helpful answer.
Well, my rationale for this is we have high numbers of children who are entitled to pupil premium funding, so I offset it against that. Jane is the cost of a day's supply. So if colleagues can be creative and use less on standard supply, we can offset it really against using Jane. So it's as simple as that. And it just and originally the governors were a bit skeptical about whether to spend, it's 2 days a week, whether to spend that amount of money. So it started as just a sort of 6-month project that just rolled on for the 14 years. So as soon as they see the power and the impact and the outcomes in terms of language, communication, confidence, parental engagement, and all that brings, they were prepared to continue funding it. So that's
Thank you.
I think one thing you said, Vanessa, that I definitely caught on to was you do these things because they're the right things to do, and they happen to be the things that Ofsted quite like as well. And I think we sometimes forget that actually, you know, people up there, there's quite a lot of people in Ofsted who understand this is a good thing to do as well. And it does tick a lot of boxes. You know, you've talked about how you can do the ESCAL screening, and Becky and Polly, you talked about how it ticks all the boxes in terms of early language development. But so I think we just perhaps need to be more confident, don't we, and say this is good for our children. We know it's good for our children, and we'll tell you why it is. Yeah, but that's one thing I'm taking away from today, to remember.
Brave leadership, isn't it, Jenny? And actually brave leaders continue to provide that breadth of experience and opportunity for learners because they knew it was the right thing to do, not because the Ofsted handbook told them that they're to do something in a certain way. Yes, we have those things to tick and they are important, but also we have to consider as you know, leaders at all levels, what's right for the community that we serve, and we have to stand strong to that. So yeah, totally agree.
I'd quite like to add to that as well, that I also hope that we can keep on talking about the benefits to the staff in the training and upskilling of staff, but also the kind of mental health of the staff as well. You know, I can come into the schools I visit and I can kind of support those teachers to do something new, different, lively, creative, joyful, happy. And it I have had a lot of lovely feedback, but genuinely because a lot of the teachers just need a bit of a creative boost at the moment, and to keep talking about the importance of that.
I think we've talked a lot about teachers needing to be confident to do that though, and quite a lot of teachers don't feel particularly confident in terms of being creative, and particularly that thing that we've been saying a few times, which is not knowing what the outcome's going to be before we start, and allowing things to go in a certain direction, which we're not always brilliant at as teachers because we've been taught to plan to the nth degree. So I think, yeah, having somebody to work alongside, like we've had you obviously, Polly, and you've obviously had Jane, who can actually make us go, no, we're not necessarily going to have that outcome. You're just going to have to let it go. I think that's really powerful.
I think ITT needs to be thinking about that as well, the teacher training, because I think working with trainee teachers, it's planning to the nth degree, it's knowing everything that's going to happen by the minute. And if that's the next generation of teachers coming through, that's quite scary, because they won't want to take those risks, because that's the sort of ethos that's they're being trained to do. And, you know, we all know that we've got data we've got to meet, we need to get the children doing certain things, but actually they might not get there without the other things as well, the creativity. Have they done 50 things before they're 5? Are they coming to school already? Have they had the musical opportunity? Have they had a chance to do art as well as read, write and do some maths?
I was very interested in the comment from one of the people in the chat. It's Alia who's commented from Hucklow, and she said that it was the sense of curiosity that the musical sounds was certainly something that stood out for her. And I think we commented on that. We were talking about that, saying that it's lovely to see the children's musical curiosity being piqued by having a live musician in, and obviously music amateur as well.
But it's musical curiosity, but it is, like you say, just curiosity of their surroundings, of how sounds are made, science of counting patterns, curiosity around everything, but using music as the vehicle to be curious with.
And if they can't do that in the early years, then we're pretty stuck, aren't we? You know, in the early years, we should definitely be allowed to have that freedom to do those things, and, you know, make those links where music's in science and language and literacy and all the other things as well. Yeah.
And actually, always saying, you know, we've talked about working with the very vulnerable children, the children in high levels of deprivation who might not ordinarily get these experiences. I remember taking the children to the Halle at the City Hall, and they didn't know what to do. And are we setting our children up to fail if we don't give them these opportunities? Are we giving them the background knowledge that they need for life? Are we giving them as good a chance as we can give them to go out there and be successful in whatever industry they want to go into? You know, that day at the City Hall, Becky, you can remember this. It was a day to remember.
I didn't see any of the concert because I was outside with kids, which is a really sad reflection, isn't it? But if they went to concerts every year, we've talked about this before in our school, if they have a cultural entitlement to going to events, then it becomes a norm. And those events don't have to necessarily be outside of school, they can be in school. We make them special in school. The kids are sat beautifully today. We've just commented on it, that the kids are sat beautifully today to the performance that Polly and the live musician Jack has done today.
And I think we talked last night, didn't we, about performance, what performance actually is on the Key Stage 2 and Up session. And actually performance could be an everyday occurrence. It doesn't have to be a huge play, a huge orchestral performance. It can be the video that you showed, Polly, of children on a drum in a classroom talking and doing the actions. It could be the children doing some artwork with the mum or the dad or the carer. It could be going out on a day out on an app and having a conversation And to me, that's what we need to strive for and really think about.
If I could feedback here, this is me as a music specialist in primary school teaching Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2. One of the verbal feedbacks I get from the kids is they love my room because it's exciting. It's the engagement that they get from my room, where they can join in and they can be noisy and they can be loud, and sometimes it does get a little bit too loud, but you're giving them that release, you're giving them that opportunity. And maybe as teachers we need to be looking at the rhythms of the day and giving those opportunities within the day. Otherwise they're like little pressure pots trying to hold them in. You know, and I think art, certainly we've done mindful art after lunch, or we've done with the music as the kids come through music. They definitely gives them those releases during the day, doesn't it?
And don't we all need that?
One bang a drum.
Well, I'm so sad to have to say this, but I am going to have to start bringing this session to a close, as much as I would love to talk to everyone all night about creativity and why it's all important. And I feel like I'm preaching to the converted a little bit here, but I want to say a huge thank you to our 3 present case studies tonight. Absolutely amazing work, and I feel very lucky to be able to share that and work alongside Becky and Polly's particularly. Really enjoyed that. I would love everyone now to please pop into the chat box what you're going to take away from tonight. We've got 2 more case studies this week on Thursday evening. Please have a look at the Create Sheffield website if you would like to sign up for those. One is about diversity and cultural identity, and that's at 3:30 on Thursday. And the other one at 4:30 on Thursday is about supporting children with special educational needs. So 2 really interesting jam-packed sessions again. And then next week, we've got 3 more sessions about how to make this work in practicality. So please let us know any questions you've got, email us, tweet us, and I just want to say a huge thank you. I'll stay on for a few minutes so that everyone can have their thoughts if there's anything anyone wanted to ask. But again, a huge thank you, and have a really lovely Tuesday evening. It seems to be stopping raining now. So thank you, everyone, and take care. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.